Hello, my name is Brafman. I'm a psychologist, and before I decided to become a psychologist, I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to go into mathematics or into psychology. Initially I was born in Israel, and then we moved to El Paso, Texas from there with my family when I was 11, and then moved to California. And I think a lot of the reasons behind why I wanted to become a psychologist has to do with my cultural background and having all these multicultural interactions, and that really fascinated me with how humans are and how we think and how we feel, and that's the field I got into. Throughout high school, I always thought I was going to go into math. I was always good in math. Math was my thing. And then my senior year of high school, I had a friend who was going through a lot of stuff, and we had a counselor who was working at the school, and I talked to him a little bit, and he said, you know, you'd make a really good therapist if you ever wanted to do that. And all of a sudden I was like, do I want to do that? And so I took a year off after high school, kind of decided what do I want to be, and after a year decided, okay, I'll go with psychology, and stuck with it. It came about very unexpectedly. My brother was working on a writing project with somebody else a few years back, and then me being his brother, we talk all the time, so I kind of got involved with that. And before we knew it, we were like, hey, we make a really good team, let's kind of keep going with it. And the idea for Sway came up, and I came up with some stories, and he came up with some stories, and we tossed around some research ideas. And before you know it, we got into Sway, and then after that we decided, hey, let's go right-click. But all those ideas too, so it's almost like kind of like a spur of the moment. All of a sudden, you wake up one morning and you're like, hey, I have an idea for a book. And you run it by the other person, and they say, yeah, it sounds good, and then there you go. Why is my name not first? That's a good question. I think for those two books, my brother did most of the writing. And the way we do the writing is we kind of take a stab at it and show it to the other person, and then the other person edits it. It just so happened for those two books, he did most of the writing himself. But the third book I'm working on now, I'm working on by myself, so my name will be first. So okay. Some equality. I wouldn't say there's a sibling rivalry. I think that, you know, like all siblings, sometimes we have our share of like arguments or discussions, but it's usually in a very productive way. It's not like we get into fights, but it's more so one of us will have an idea, and the other person may say, oh, that's a great idea, or may say, that's a really lousy idea, and sometimes may knock it down or may ask more questions. But I think we both enjoy seeing each other succeed, and it didn't used to be like that when we were kids. It was more, you know, like each one maybe kind of doing our own stuff. But especially as we grew older, there's a sense of camaraderie, and we're really happy to see the other person succeed and look out for each other, and we're good friends, which is really nice. I never had thought of writing a textbook, but it's interesting that that question came up, because we always found textbooks to be really boring. And part of the thing we wanted to do when writing is, let's make sure it's not boring. Let's make sure it doesn't sound like a textbook. So can we go back and do a textbook thing? Maybe one day we will, if we find the opportunity. So that book is going to come out in later, like December 28th of this year. And it's about unlikely success. So more specifically, if you get two people who've been through a lot, let's say they grew up in tough neighborhoods and had a lot of family stuff going on, and faced a lot of obstacles, but one of them succeeded and the other one didn't. What causes the differences psychologically? What does it take to succeed despite adversity? And I try to pick out the 5 or 6 different areas that differentiate those who are able to overcome obstacles and persevere, and those who succumb to them. Yes, communication not only is sped up, but it also changed. And so the way we communicate is a lot differently. I think our attention spans continues to shrink. I watch movies that I watched 20 years ago that I really liked, and now I'm like, okay, where's the fast forward button? So I think without even realizing it, our attention span has gotten much shorter. Some of it is maybe not so good, that we become more kind of impatient, but maybe on the other hand, at least we get to the point more clearly and faster, and maybe that's a good thing. I think that's how we are. in a way, if you don't use diagnostic biases, you just sort of like, I don't know, I don't care, it doesn't matter. Everything kind of becomes a blank slate. So we always have to make some choice, even if it's who do I trust, who do I not trust, who do I want to talk to, who do I not want to talk to. And every time we make a decision, it changes the way we diagnose the reality, the way we view the world. I think ideally where we want to get to is to a place where we feel, you know what, I am going to diagnose, but let me question those diagnoses and make sure that I don't make too many, I don't follow too many stereotypes or too many biases that lead me astray. Well, a lot of times people get diagnosed before you even meet them face to face. So if you know, like, okay, well, job interview, for example, or meeting someone for the first time, like, you know, if somebody has a name, they're going to Google you, they're going to find out all this information. So they're already establishing some sort of a thing before they actually meet you. So be careful what pictures you post online, or be careful what you write when you're angry. But you know, even if there is stuff there that you're like, oh, that's not really me, at least it gives you in person, it gives you an opportunity to correct some of that.